Hi. Hey everyone, it's me, Christine Job of Flourish in the Foreign, a podcast that celebrates, elevates, and affirms the voices and stories of Black women living and thriving abroad while exploring living abroad as a pathway to wellness. Yes, and what does that mean? It means that you've decided to go abroad intentionally, and that living abroad has created space, has created resources, it's created opportunity for you to develop, to cultivate your best life on your own terms. Yes. And today I decided to jump on here very, just kind of in the moment. And I wanted to talk to you guys. Hey, everyone. Hey. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from, obviously in the comments, and if you have any questions. But today I want to specifically talk about wellness, and specifically about the importance of wellness, emotional wellness while you're abroad. And let's get even more nitty gritty about creating and building friendships and creating and building community, and how that is so important for you to thrive abroad, and also about maintaining friendships and maintaining community while you're abroad. Yeah, because things change. Yeah. That's what we're talking about today. So let me know if you are abroad. Put it in the comments in below. Let me know if you are abroad, or if you've been abroad, how you developed friendships, how you built community. Let me know in the comments below as well. Of course, now I'm kind of just doing open-ended. If you want to join me, you can join me. I have some notes of things I want to talk about specifically, but let us have a dialogue, because it's so important. You know, because Flourish in the Foreign really is about exploring and living abroad intentionally, and using living abroad as a pathway to wellness. It is so important to not just think about the country and the Instagram pics and all this stuff, because if you don't got any friends, it's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be sustainable. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of expats, immigrants, what have you, really complain about. And it's kind of a weird, silent, shameful thing not a lot of people talk about. They may talk about it in other groups, but they don't want to talk about it. So for me to say, oh, I live in Spain, I live in Barcelona, and then be like, I'm lonely, people don't get that, right? If they're not living that kind of lifestyle, they don't get what you mean. Like, Christine, you walk past the Sagrada Familia, you live next to the Mediterranean Sea. Like, I don't feel sorry for you. Like, I don't. And it's like, I'm not looking for sympathy, right? But we have to talk about it, because we are social creatures. Moving abroad to a country that you may not speak the language fluently or at all, or you're not accustomed to cultural differences. These are things that isolate us, that sometimes create even more barriers to us building friendships, building community. And I don't care who you talk to, the most introverted person. I'm an introvert. That's why I have a podcast. You need community. You need, even if you never get homesick. I was that person. I've been traveling, like solo traveling since I was 4. No lie. If you don't know about that, check out my podcast, Flourish in the Foreign, www.flourishintheforeign.com. You can check out my episode. You can learn why I was traveling solo when I was 4 years old. I started traveling internationally solo when I was 10. And all of my international exploits really have been solo, never getting homesick, nothing like that. But you move abroad and it's a different kind of thing. It's a completely different kind of beast. Probably in combination, because if you are an introvert and you don't get homesick and things like that, and COVID has been good for you because you're like, I don't gotta talk to nobody. What living abroad kind of brings to it is that sometimes the things that you use to comfort yourself and to distract yourself, or the things that you're busy doing, most of the things that you comfort yourself are just not available. Whether it be comfort food or comfort places or habits or things are just not available to you. So I use myself as an example. I am a true blue introvert. Some people are like, no, I don't believe you. I'm like, for real, y'all. I really am. So I've lived and I've traveled solo, but when I moved to Spain, it was particularly difficult for me because I was so used to my schedule. For me as an introvert, as a person that has friends but don't gotta be all out there all the time, that likes her me time, it was the schedule that really, I think for me, was like the tipping point into like isolation or feelings of loneliness. When I lived in Atlanta, I used to get up at 4 a.m. Well, that's for another conversation. I used to get up at 4 a.m., go to the gym by 5. I had all my like things that I did. And in American culture, we don't like just stop by on people. Like we make plans. So I would be like, I'm going to see you in 2 weeks, put in my calendar, all these kinds of things. I moved to Spain. They're not asking to hang out 2 weeks in advance or a week in advance. They're asking you maybe the day before. If it's something like important, then maybe give more notice. But normal hangout, dinner, they're not asking you a week in advance. They're asking you the day before, the day of, the moment of, hey, I'll make some food, come over. And so the combination of my schedule being totally messed up, right? Nothing opens at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in Spain, let alone where I was living in La Rioja. Nothing's open, okay? Nothing's open. So can't go to the gym when I want to go to the gym. Friendships are extremely, like, they're very spontaneous, so you gotta hang when you can hang. All these kinds of things, really, and it sounds trivial, and I hope you're laughing at me, because it sounds trivial, but when it happens to you, I want you to know that it's okay if it feels trivial, and why are you spiraling? Because I spiraled. I was like, I am uncomfortable. I would be okay if you would give me more notice to hang out, or when we hang out, we do these things I'm comfortable doing, right? That was me. Tight-fisted. Ugh. But guess what? I persevered. And I want to tell you kind of the things I use to persevere and to make friends and have community so that you don't have to go through the angst like I did. I had so much angst. Basically, stop resisting. Stop resisting is the first tip. Whatever culture you're moving to, you are moving into a different culture with different time schedules, obviously different food, different language possibly, or different cultural novelties and things like that. Like, you have to completely surrender, and don't resist. And I know this, some people are gonna think, no, I decided I'm gonna move to Ghana, and like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready. And I'm like, one, even if you've been to the country many, many times, it is so different than actually living there. I studied abroad in Spain. I have traveled to Spain many times. I walked the Camino de Santiago. I literally walked across the country of Spain for 33 days. Like, I was in it. I was all up in it, right? But it's not the same as living. So just keep in mind that even if you feel like you're surrendering to the country, that you need to just go ahead and surrender some more. Okay? There's levels to the surrender. There's levels. So part of the reason you move abroad perhaps is to have some part of this wellness that we're talking about, whether it be a job opportunity or financial wellness or what have you. But there's payoffs, right? You have to give up something to get what you really want. So give up the resistance. That's the number one thing. I think number two is that you have to be more outgoing than you probably ever have been. And I'm saying this to you as an introvert. So don't tell me like, no, Christine, I'm a real introvert. Like, I can't. You're going to have to be really outgoing. And for introverts, it feels a little bit different than people who are not introverts. We're going to be like, I'm exhausted from all this socializing. Because it's not that we don't like people, and it's not that we don't enjoy hanging out. It's just that it's quite exhausting. And if you're doing it in a different language with different foods, so you're trying to be like, what am I eating? What am I drinking? What's happening? Is this a joke? I don't know. Like, there's so much stuff going on that it does become mentally taxing, regardless if you're an introvert or an extrovert. But you are going to have to be way more, you're just going to expend more energy. I think that's the best way to say it. You're going to feel like, but I've done so much. You're going to have to really expend a lot more energy than you're used to. And you're going to need to do it for at least like the first 6 months. And I know you're gonna be like, you're joking. And I'm gonna tell you why. You're gonna need to do it because there is, depending on where you're moving to, there is the temptation to just go hang out with expats, American expats, who live in your city or your place, and just be like, y'all speak English, y'all my friends. But if you live in a place long enough, you will realize that someone just being an American, like you guys sharing a nationality and speaking English, is not enough for you guys to be friends, right? It's not enough when you're home, and it's not enough when you're abroad. So, hey, if that's what you want to do at first, just be like, I need to just hold on to something. I'm going to hold on to this friend. All right, but I'm going to tell you, and y'all not going to believe me, but y'all, those of you that are abroad and you have experienced this, y'all put in the comments and let them know. I'm going to tell you, you're going to do it, and then you're going to be like, these are not my friends. Because I promise you, language and nationality is not enough to sustain a friendship. So you are going to have to continuously put yourself out there so that you can actually find the people that are in alignment with who you are. You're going to have to put yourself out there in these kinds of ways, right? All the things that you like to do at home, you're going to have to find those things or the equivalents in your resident country. And you're going to have to figure it out. Maybe you're going to have to go through, language. And you're going to be like, oh, I don't know how to say it. Do it anyway. Be like, I want to do yoga. But they're doing it all in Spanish. Hey, it's a great way to learn some Spanish, is to do yoga in Spanish. And be like, a la derecha. Yes, to the right. Okay, I got it. You're just going to have to continuously put yourself out there. But the thing is that you'll be doing things that you want to be doing. You'll be surrounded by people that you actually would vibe with. Because once again, ladies and gentlemen, nationality and language is not enough to be friends. Like, you're not going to be friends. Like, it's not. And I want you to have a solid foundation for community and for friendship, right? So I get it. You will be like, where are the Americans at? Y'all speak English? I'm your friend. I get it. I'm just going to say, if that's what you need to do at first, okay, while really putting yourself out there, you have to do it. You have to do it, okay? I'm going to look at some of these comments, and then we're going to continue on about some of the things that I did. Maybe I'll give you some weird, awkward stories. But I have so many. I have to. Hey, Adelia. Adelia says, introverts require special care, but we're resilient. That's the thing, right? Being introverts doesn't mean that we're like shy or even socially awkward. That's not the thing. It's just like, I'll speak for myself. I get exhausted easily, especially when you're in the phase of like, do I like you? I don't know. Do I like you? I don't know. Like, that's exhausting to me. If I like you, then I have all the energy for you. I'm so in tune. I'm so great. But when you're moving abroad, when you're moving to some place, you don't share, the common language, because you could be talking to someone who's also, like, for my instance, in Barcelona, their native tongue isn't Spanish. They're from somewhere else, so we're speaking in English, or maybe we're speaking in Spanish. It's a lot of things of language, of cultural nuances, also of stereotypes. People like find out that you're American and they have all these stories about you, and you're just like, I'm tired, but I want friends. So I'm gonna be like, no. Who else you got around here? It's a lot, but you are resilient. And if you're abroad, you have to be resilient. Y'all know what it is. One curvy chick, hi. I'm an introvert with extrovert tendencies depending on the people I'm around. That's the thing, right? People that you really F with, you're like, yeah. And people that you just don't know very well, or maybe you don't, you can't like get it up for them. And that's fine. I'm very similar. I'm similar. But when you're abroad, it requires you to expend that energy. Just think about it. When I moved to La Rioja and I needed a bank account, oh my goodness. And I was like, okay, I'm going to open up a bank. I'm going to open a bank account. I'm just going to go to a bank. And I was like, wait, what do I need? And I'm in the bank and they're like going through like, all the microscopic fine print and telling you like, yeah, you understand in Spanish. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm signing away, but I need a bank account. Like, that's part of it, right? Same thing with friendship. Sometimes you're like, I don't know what's happening, but I just can't be in my apartment by myself. You're resilient. You get over it. You get over it. Sheldon. Hey, Sheldon. He agrees, or she agrees. Oh, so they agree with Adelia. I totally agree. Our resilience factor is quite high. We adapt and survive with ease. That is true. That is true. Fat nice one. Hi. I haven't seen you in a minute, right? I'm not interested in leaving America just to be around other Americans someplace else. You would be surprised. You'd be surprised. That discomfort and growth is hard, especially for us introverts. It is, but you know, you also have that moment 1 month in, 6 months in, a year in, and you're like, I live in Spain, or I live in Mexico, or I live in Ghana. And you're just like, what? And the funny thing is that we expect in our mind, especially if this is our first time going abroad, we expect it to be just beautiful. You know, like how Simone Biles does like that flip and she just lands it and you're just like, yes, we expect it to be like that, and it's not. We are cartwheeling, falling, flip-flopping, and we're getting to the end, and that's all that matters, is that we got to the end, right? That's all that matters. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, so I want to talk more about some other tips on making friends and building community. I do have a YouTube video all about this. If you have not checked out the Flourish and Flourish YouTube account, what have you been doing? I mean, what's going on? I thought we were friends. What's happening here? What's going on? Check out the YouTube account. It's www.youtube.com. I'm assuming /Flourish and Flourish. And find that video. I talk about all the kinds of different clubs and resources and things like that I use, I think specifically for Barcelona. So check that out. But let's continue on. Making friends, building community. So I already said that you're going to have to extend a lot and exert a lot of energy. That's just a given. It's just going to be what it is. But I think there's also kind of a cheat code to it. I do. Not only doing things that you like to do, which is so important, but I think it's also about kind of the groundwork that you do before you move abroad. But listen closely, because some people don't listen, they do this all wrong. So listen closely. So if you know you're moving to, let's say, Barcelona, and you're like, I want to have friends, I want to see who's going on, especially if you're looking for a Black community or people of color community, you're like, where are the ethnic, colorful people at? Like, I need to be around people of color, right? So you go on Google, you go on Facebook, you might put in people of color, Black people, Black women of Barcelona, see what comes up. Maybe there's articles, maybe there's not. You go into Facebook, you might find groups. There's American Society of Barcelona. And you try to find, like, where are these people that I think I want to be connected into? Like, where are those people? Perhaps you do find a Facebook group for Black women in Barcelona. I don't know if there actually is one. I'm thinking about that right now. Like, I don't think it's active if there is one, right? And so you introduce yourself and you're like, hey, I'm going to be moving to Barcelona. I just want to see, like, this is what I do. This is what I'm thinking about moving to. I just want to see, like, what do you guys do for fun? Or are there things I should keep in mind when I move? Things like that. That, I think, is really, really key. You start building a friendship online or via email or whatever before you move abroad. But it is one of reciprocity. It is so key. It is not, hey, I'm moving to Barcelona. Who can take me around to see the Sagrada Familia? Okay, not everybody's a tour guide. If there's a tour guide in the group and they're like, yeah, it's $20. Like, let's go. Great. But most people aren't tour guides. And what I find is that when people enter into some of these spaces, especially if it's a space for people who live in a country and you're like, I'm wanting to go visit and just see and test it out, or I'm moving, so hey guys, like, you have to think about it like you would do any other social situation. Like, if you just fling yourself in there and be like, hey everyone, I'm the new one, so what's going on? That's weird, right? Like, it's weird, it's strange. Especially, I would say, with WhatsApp groups. There are times, and depending on where you are in the world, some of these WhatsApp groups are protected way more. Some of them are like, unless you live in this city, do not come up in this WhatsApp group. Which is, I mean, it's fair. It's fair. Some people are a little bit more open, but I think it's all about how you approach this kind of thing. Because you might post on Facebook, you might go into this WhatsApp group, and you're going to get crickets because you approached it all wrong. You're just going in there and being like, okay, I'm going to be here Wednesday. What's up? Who's going to take me out? Like, people don't got jobs, kids, dogs, lives, things to do. That's not how you make friends. And I feel like sometimes when it's virtual, people miss the mark and they mess it all the way up. Whereas you enter into that space virtually and you'll be like getting crickets or people whom you may have vibed with. People are like, you just came at us all wrong and I'm not going to say hello to you. That's not what's going to be. So virtual before you go, I think is really critical, but you have to be mindful about how you approach, and you need to go with a heart and mind of reciprocity, because that's what friendship is anyway. That's what community is anyway. You want to enter into this community, right? So you're like, help me, because I don't know what's happening. But you also have to think about what you're bringing into the community. You have to think about what can you give? What can you do, right? With respect and integrity, that is really crucial, I find. Because also, which leads to number 3, right? This is specifically for Black people, but it could be for any person of color, really. When you go abroad and you're looking for a Black community, know that Blackness is not monolithic. Let me say it again. Blackness is not monolithic. It's not. And as I'm a Black American, so I'll speak from this point of view. I'm a Black American. I'm half Trinidadian, but I grew up in the South in America. And we have, in general, this kind of feeling of like, you Black, I'm Black, we all Black. And that's cool and great. But it's not necessarily how everyone else that falls into Blackness, how they roll. And it doesn't mean that they're not inclusive or anything like that. It's just different, right? So I think it's really important to understand that Blackness is not a monolith and Black Americanness is not the standard, people. Because let me tell you, the kind of stuff I be seeing and people in WhatsApp groups, because people will be like, no. So I want you to really keep in mind that when you go out for community, one, it's a reciprocity, but also that you may want to be around other melanated people, but we need to hold space for their different experience. Your experience is not the standard. It's yours. It's yours. So be interested and be open to hear other people's point of view, and things that are not right are not wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, things are not right for you is not wrong in anyone else's sense. If you guys have listened to my podcast, I don't know what episode it was, but it was when I was speaking with Roxana in Singapore. She is a Black British woman in Singapore with her husband, and she actually really talked about this. So if you haven't listened to this episode, listen to it, because she talked about how sometimes there was this tension in the Black community in Singapore, because she'd be like, we all joke and we all laugh, and yeah, we consume Black American culture, but we're not all Black Americans. And so I think they were playing a game, I think it was called like Black Card Game, which I've never played, but I've heard about it. And all the questions, like you could like revoke someone's Black card, all the questions were surrounding Black American culture. And you have all these people from, the UK, from various parts of Africa, other parts of diaspora, who are like, what do you mean? So if I don't know this stuff, that I'm not Black? What? Yeah, that's really important. That's really important. You're going abroad, you're going to be in an international setting. Even if you are going to the continent, maybe especially if you're going to the continent, trying to exert your culture as a dominant one, and not understanding that there are many different cultures coming into the city or the space, and to be respectful of it, and to understand that what you're really looking for is community, not you just being like, I'm bringing Atlanta to Barcelona. Atlanta, there's no Atlanta in Barcelona, okay? There's not Atlanta in Barcelona. And I know, try to do that. But you try to create community. To be part of community, you have to be, one, understanding, respectful, and coming from a spirit of reciprocity. Yes. big one. So let me read some of these comments. Let me know what you guys think. Have you experienced that if you're abroad? If you're not American especially, give me your thoughts on that. If you are American, let me know what you think about that. But I think it's something that I see a lot. I see people being like, they have an idea of what Black community is and what they do or how they behave or what should be happening. And if they don't have it, they are upset. I think especially when there is, there's Black people from across the diaspora, people have different cultural norms about, introductions or how soon people become friends. Americans, we are very like, hey, even though we're introverted, like we'll be like, hey, yeah, cool, you can come over, and like not mean any of that crap. And other cultures are not like that. Other people are not like that. So I think it's really important to understand, like, okay, I met some people, they seem maybe a little cold, and I don't know. Okay, relax. It could be cultural. It could be like, they think you're cool, but it's just not the same kind of vibe. You guys have different cultural, like reference points. So I think it's really important. I think it's really important to think about. So let me look at some of these questions. Let's see. Hey, Adelia. Adelia says, I'd like to have local female friends, but as an introvert over 40, maybe Bumble BFF is an option. I was going to get to that. I was going to get to other online kinds of things. Bumble, Tinder, all of these online, I guess, friendship making, matchmaking, for love making, whatever groups, whatever they call it, all of those can be useful for making friends. I actually want to point to one of the latest episodes I just dropped with Latrice. It was episode, I want to say 41 in Rome. And she really talked about how she utilized Tinder not only to date, and she has an amazing, we had a really great conversation about dating abroad. I think it's probably one of the most, I think it's one of the most thorough talks I've had on the podcast about dating abroad. So if you haven't heard that, check that out. But she used Tinder to date, and she made friends, and she had community, and she really tapped in. But what you would find with Latrice, she is an extrovert. She put herself out there. She continuously put herself out there, and she was like, I am going to get the reps in, which is kind of what I said before, right? You have to put yourself out there and continuously try to cultivate that community. Now, I have not used Bumble BFF. I use Bumble Business, which is for another conversation. And I haven't used Tinder to make friends, but I have had friends who have found other friends and things like that through that. I think the thing about that is, again, you need to be very clear about who you are and what you're looking for. And also, like, prepare yourself for the riffraff. And the riffraff could be on any platform, right? You could be on Bumble BFF. People try to get you to do an MLM. That's what happened to me, actually. It was through Facebook, though. And I was like, oh, I want to make friends. And people were like, oh, great, you want to make friends? And you're in entrepreneurship, and oh, let's have a conversation about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, hooray. And then this happened to me twice on Facebook. And then people were like, oh, I'm so glad. Like, we meet for coffee. And then they start pitching me for this MLM. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a Ponzi scheme. I want to be in a friendship. I just want to get to know people. So that's part of it, though. That's part of, like, sometimes it's going to be great, and sometimes people are going to try to pull you into their Ponzi scheme. But I still went out there and I still made friends. That's the thing. That is the thing. So definitely utilize Facebook, Bumble, Tinder if you'd like. I will say, what do you say, Adelia? Adelia says, yeah, not great at putting myself out there. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But let me tell you something that happened to me, which was so funny. In Barcelona, there is a chapter of the group Girls Gone International. I think they have chapters all around the world. The one in Barcelona, they ran really well, so you can find like housing, you can find employment, you can find all different types of things that you need. And back before COVID, when I first moved to Barcelona, they would have a lot of rooftop parties and things like that, especially because it was the summertime. And I just went to one rooftop and I was like, I don't know these people, you know. I don't really like to drink with strangers because I don't know how people are gonna act. And I was just trying to, you know, have my little gin and tonic and just, you know, peep the scene. And I went there and I had a really great conversation with some of the girls. I told them what I did, and it was such a funny situation because they were basically like, you know what, we like you, you're our friends. And like, it just happened like that. And then it kind of turned into, I then started putting on entrepreneurial events with them for Girls Gone International Barcelona, like throughout the summer for, you know, on rooftops and things like that. So that's part of also creating community, is being of service. It was so funny how it happened because I didn't pitch anyone. I was literally just drinking my drink, like, hi, I'm Christine, you know, and I was just like, this is what I do. It wasn't a pitch at all. And they're like, really? Cool. You want to do this? Yeah, let's hang out. Let's have lunch. And it just happened. It just happened. So put yourself out there. Sometimes. And sometimes it's hard though. It is. Especially you're like, I don't want to go to, especially because depending on the city that you're in, like Barcelona is fairly transient and fairly like young, which is cool. You know, I'm in my 30s, so how I get down is different from people who are in their early 20s. It just is, you know? It just is. So sometimes that's a little bit difficult, but you still put yourself out there. You still try. All right, I'm looking at my notes. What else did I say I was going to say today? Okay, yes. And what else? Okay. Other opportunities or other organizations you can join. There are some like American Society of Barcelona and the like. There are Internations, which is for expats of all around the world in a certain city that you can join. I think Internations is fine. I think it probably depends on how old you are and what you're looking for and the city that you're in. I have a story about Internations, but I'm not gonna put it all on the internet like that, so sorry, I'm not gonna do that. But I will say they're very well run, and they're very well run, and they have lots of activities in Barcelona. You can go hiking, you can go cooking lessons, go to museums. They have hotel parties, Christmas parties. They really be out there. So that's a really good way if you are moving and you don't know anyone. Tap into Internations. But also a caveat, I guess, is that Internations really is it's an expat bubble. It's all expats. So if you're wanting to have like local friends, you are still going to have to acquire language, understand culture, and put yourself out there. Yes. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. Even if you have a partner who is of that culture, you cannot rely on that because you just can't. You need to make your own friends, because if you are disbanded from your partner and they have all the friends, then you don't got any friends. And that's a problem. Okay. I wanted to ask if anyone has any questions. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me know where you are located in the world in the comments, or where you want to go in the world, where you're interested in moving to. If you have fears about moving abroad, if you have fears about making friends abroad, let me know in the comments. Let me know. I wanted to also say, what else was I going to say? I'm going to look at this paper again. Another thing, going back to WhatsApp. WhatsApp is awesome, and WhatsApp is great. WhatsApp groups are so helpful. They're amazing resources. Either they're a wonderful resource, sometimes they're a wonderful resource for laughs, because people are people and there will be drama. But I would also say that part of being in community and making friends not only is like putting yourself out there for the events, but also is to actually just ask people out. ask people out for friendship dates. Ask them. It's gonna be weird, maybe, but I think that's what I've done the most, is to be like, maybe I go to an event, I see someone, we talk, and I'm like, let's do something. Or I put it out like, I want to do X, Y, and Z. If you like X, Y, and Z, let's go do this together. And yeah, you have to do like some of the planning if it's more than just like going to a cafe or restaurant. But that's how you put yourself in the like driver's seat, and at least you can meet some new people, right? Maybe it will be a bust. It probably won't be, because you'll probably have a funny story regardless, which is how I also like have always pushed myself to do things, because I'm like, either I'll make friends and it'll be a great time, I won't make friends and I'll have probably a hilarious story to call my friends back at home about, right? Yes. Which leads me to maintaining friendships that you have at home. But I'm gonna read these comments, I'm gonna get to that. Tia Mia, hi Tia. I'm in California, moving to Barcelona. Hello, welcome to Barcelona. In August, excited but super scared at the same time. It's a big change for me. Tia, tell me, what are you afraid of? And why are you moving to Barcelona? And yeah, tell me everything. Eli with love. I'm interviewing for a job that includes 18 months in Taiwan. Any advice on the living conditions there? Ooh, well, I'm about to interview a woman who lives in Taiwan, but I will say this to you. One, you should follow her. Oh, do I know her Instagram though? Crap. Ooh. It's Juanita Ingram. I think that might be her Instagram handle, Juanita Ingram. She has a Amazon Prime TV show. Isn't that amazing? Called the International Expat Ingrams. All about their expat lives. She goes with her husband and her 2 kids, and they live in Taiwan. And I think it's really interesting because it also talks about a little bit about how COVID has affected their life there. But I don't. And also, if you follow or you listen to the podcast, The Black Expat, Carl, he's lived in Taiwan for like 10 years, I think. I just did an interview with him on his podcast. And he's a wealth of information. So even though I don't know specifically about living conditions in Taiwan, check out those 2 resources. And I'm going to be interviewing Juanita for the podcast, the next season of the podcast, in June. So that'll go live later this summer probably. So I don't know, I'm sorry, but I hope that's helpful, because what I've also found is that in this kind of group of people of color abroad, everyone is generally nice. So and very helpful. Okay, good. So because I'm like, I don't know, I've flown through Taiwan, but that doesn't help anyone. Excellent bubble tea at the airport. Doesn't help anyone. Okay, so I want to talk about, hey Patricia, the enterprising expat. Hey Patricia. I want to talk about maintaining friendships and community in your home country or your hometown while you're abroad. This is something that a lot of my guests have talked about. I think Latrice talked about this again in episode 41 when she's in Rome. And she talked about how when she was going away, she had like this big, massive, like going away party. But then people started acting really funny. And she didn't have that many friends when she come back. And she thought that was really interesting. But it's also, I mean, this is across all expat spaces. This is going to happen. I know. You don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. But also, Latrice said something really interesting. It's actually a quote that's on the Instagram grid. I'm going to misquote it, of course. But she says, you know, she thinks, I think that they're jealous. Not jealous that I live abroad, but jealous of my fearlessness. And I will say it's a combination of these things. It's a combination of out of sight, out of mind. It's a combination of, you know, with the fearlessness, like you are a person that didn't just talk about it, but you did it. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be a perfect Simone Biles dismount flip thing. Like you just did it and you're doing it. it changes you. And therefore, because it changes you as a person, it changes how people see you, right? It changes because you create a new priority list. You create a whole different kind of way of seeing the world. Maybe, before this, you and your friends all had the same life experience. But you go abroad, it blows up your life experience. It doesn't mean that just because you go abroad, you can't have your friends from back home, because I still have friends from back home. They don't live abroad, and we're still cool, and we still love each other, and we get down. And I don't always talk about in Barcelona, like, I don't do that. I really don't do that. We just talk like friends that care about each other and love each other, right? But living abroad has a way of like sifting out convenient friendships. People that you just saw, you hung out because you guys were just there. And and for the friendships that really mean a lot to you, sometimes people change it up. They act differently. They think that you're different. Helena, I forget which episode she was on. We're Facebook friends. She's episode, I don't know, 30 something, talking about going abroad to heal abroad, because she physically healed herself, mentally, emotionally healed herself abroad by moving to Thailand, and also I think she was in Vietnam for a while too. But I saw her on Facebook, and she said, I've had people come into my DMs and say, why are you posting these pictures? Because she was living in Vietnam at the time. She was in Rwanda now. Why are you posting these pictures of Da Nang and on being on the beach? That's where she lives. People post pictures of Starbucks and whatever all the time. But people really had a problem with her posting pictures of her life. And that tells you a lot. Some people will be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Get my bed ready. I'm moving. I'm coming to visit you. Da, da, da. And some people will have a problem with you deciding to do something for yourself that's outside of their norm. Some people will have a problem with you deciding to cultivate a life well lived that is outside of their societal trajectory and without their same values and the things that they like and they need. Some people will say that to you. Right? They'll be like, but I just bought this and you don't have this, and why aren't you unhappy with your life? Like, I live next to the Mediterranean, so it's kind of cool. I don't know, right? You have different values, you appreciate different things. So that's something that I think is really important to prepare yourself for. Now, there's different ways to maintain relationships while you're abroad. The best way for me that I found, and what I think my friends have appreciated too, because they're busy ladies, they do things. Some of my friends have kids, small kids, they don't have time necessarily to always try to figure out time that's going to be best for us to Google Meet or Zoom or even FaceTime. So what I like to do is I drop voice clips. I think it's the best way, because you can really rant and rave like you would to your friend in the moment if you need to, and send it to them. And I do it on WhatsApp. You can do it on iPhone or whatever, and they can get back to you whenever it's convenient for them, and you have a conversation. That's been a good way for me to maintain friendships like that. Obviously, you watch your friends' kids grow up via Instagram. It's kind of weird. It's kind of sad. But these are the things that you can try to do to still maintain friendship, is still be connected, care about each other, inquire about each other, and things like that. But it requires, one, people really liking you as a person, not just liking you for the person that you were in their life, right? They really gotta like you as a person. They really want to see you happy as a person. And actually maintaining that kind of reciprocity. Reciprocity is the word of this IG Live, because that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean. All right, let me go back and see. Y'all said something. One curvy chick, I'm looking to just travel a bit to see what feels like home. I've never traveled internationally, so I'm excited. I'm also trying to figure out my online hustle. Yeah. So, welcome to international travel. I'm excited for you. Let me know where you're going to be going. I think it's really important to go and see, especially if you're thinking about, maybe you want to move abroad for a minute, or maybe you're thinking maybe I just want to spend some time, because not everybody has to move abroad too. Okay, not everybody has to move abroad. I think people get that. Like, I'm not that person that's like, your home country sucks, leave, or do what's best for you. Okay, because I don't pay your bills, so do what's best for you. So go abroad, see what you like, but I think what's really important exercise to do is to journal. Write down how you're feeling in a place, like your interactions with people, what makes you anxious, what are the things that you don't like, so that you can actually go back and you can kind of look at it maybe later when you're not in the moment. Because what I will say about no matter how well traveled you are, we are human and we have our expectations and we have the things that we're used to, and we, the things that, if this is not like this, you got an attitude. Everybody has that thing. I have that thing for sure. And I'm like, why is this not to my liking? You'd be like, this is a different country, Christine. Like, calm down. But it's important to journal about it so you can actually start seeing the things that are you, like it's a you problem, and the things that are like, oh, this is not a good fit for me as a country. And I say that because I say this all throughout the podcast, you can't just move abroad or even visit or travel abroad and expect a country or a place to heal you. That's like really crazy to me. I think people say that, and I don't think that's what they really mean. I think what they really mean is that a place or people in a place have created a space for them to enact their own healing. But people are not bombs, and places are not bombs. You can't just be going to Mexico or Tanzania and being like, heal me. Like, how crazy in like main character syndrome is that? Like, to really think that you can just move someplace, so people are just gonna like heal you. Like, that's what they're on earth to do. Interesting, right? You know what I mean? So my thing is like, journal how you feel, because you will learn, like, I find that I am really resistant to X, Y, and Z because I'm, maybe I have an insecurity on this or that, or I've always known something to be like this or that. But upon further reflection, I know that this resistance, I could work on it. Like, that wasn't Colombia. That wasn't, Kenya. That was me. It's important to have that introspection so that you can, one, just be, I think, a better traveler, but also if you're going to be spending a lot of time in a different country, that it helps you to check yourself so that you can actually have a better and more enriching kind of time, right? Because let me tell you, the amount of people that complain about like not having like the cereal that they love, y'all know what I'm talking about. You're in the expat forums, the amount of people that talk about like really trivial things. And let me tell you, I complain about trivial things too, but I don't post it on Facebook also. I just like mutter to myself and I'm like, I'm in a different country and I'll let it go, right? So it's not like you have to be some saint that doesn't have needs and wants and frustrations and cravings. It's just that you have introspection and self-awareness. So one curvy chick, I'm really excited for you. Journal. Because it'll I'm you how you feel in different places and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend journaling and figure out your online hustle. I'm a business strategist. I don't know if you know that. I'm a business strategist. I actually help Black women and women of color leverage their talents and their expertise into viable, important, sustainable, even more important, online businesses that make them professionally fulfilled, but also financially abundant, because we're thriving abroad, right? We're not just being abroad. I have a very free build a business abroad guide. So definitely check it out. It's in the link in the bio of this Instagram situation, but also it's on the website. So check it out. It's like a 101 class. Like, it's a 101, like, get your feelings, get your thoughts on paper to see what you want to do. I also put a lot of links to other resources that I've created. I've written articles and stuff like that, YouTube videos, podcasts I've done with women who have online businesses and they are abroad. So definitely check that out. Tia Mia, going to take a TOEFL course, get certified, and then job search to teach English. I don't have a job and a bit worried about the visa process. I know everything will work out in the end. Yeah, I'm trying to go back because I'm trying to remember what you said at first. Oh, you're moving to Barcelona. Okay. Sorry, guys. Y'all know, like, I'm a millennial, but like, I'm the millennial that's like, I can open up a PDF, but you know, like, that's about it. So you're gonna take a TOEFL course, get certified in the job search to teach English. Tia, if you're willing to have this conversation in front of all these people, just let me know. But let me know, like, do you have a visa that allows you to work in Spain, a working visa? Because that's really important to be able to teach English in Spain, unless are you coming on the auxiliar program and then looking to work on the side of that. Because if you're on like a student visa, you can work for like 20 hours on the side, but or actually that's for if you're outside the EU. Are you European? There's so many questions. If you're willing to talk about it, if you don't want to talk about it, it's not my business, that's fine. I'm curious, and I might have some suggestions for you. Hey, Patricia. Patricia says, please leave this up for a little while. I will watch tonight. Of course I will. Also, the enterprising expat is also a guest, Patricia. It's a guest on the podcast. She was an early guest on the podcast talking about her experience as, talking about her kind of dual identity, being British and also from Lesotho, meeting her husband and being a quote unquote, I know we don't like to use the term, trailing spouse, how she really found empowerment through that experience, developed her own business through that experience. Also how, she was an expat in the United States in the DC area, and how that was, I don't know, would you say a life-changing, a mind-expanding experience, I would say. It was a mind-expanding experience for her. And now I believe she's back in the UK. So if you have not checked out her episode, I want to say it's episode 9 or 7. I'm just making up numbers at this point. Yeah, y'all know www.flourishintheforeign.com/episodes. You'll scroll, you'll see it. One curvy chick. Nope, don't want to come back to the States. Oh, okay, you don't want to come back to the States. All right. A lot of people. I don't know if you guys know, I'm based in Barcelona, but currently I am in Atlanta. I had to come back to Atlanta to deal with some stuff very unexpectedly, and I'll be going back to Barcelona next month. So I've been here for a minute because I came very unexpectedly. It was like, but then I was like, oh, I could get vaccinated, so I'll stay a minute. So I will tell you though that a lot of expats or people, immigrants who are in Spain, in Barcelona, they were thinking about coming back to the States to get vaccinated. A lot of people talk about it. Adelia and I and Taylor, we talked about this last week about coming back to the States, getting vaccinated, things like that, and our situation with COVID. But there are also a lot of people who are like, no, when I said I'm not going back, I said I'm not coming back. So, I understand that sentiment. One curvy chick. Yes, love journaling aspect, really important. Facts, gotta heal yourself so you can be in the right frame of mind before you go, so you can enjoy the experience. That's the thing. Because people really be like, oh, you like Colombia? I hate Colombia. I hate the... And you just be like, if you hate all the places, it's you. I have countries that I don't particularly like. Like, I've been there like 7 times. I'm like, I don't like it. I'm not going back. But I also realize that there's part of me, like, stuff that I'm just like, this is not who I am. I don't like people talking to me this way. I don't like da-da-da. And you just get it. Or you have a bad experience at a place and you're just like, I'm not going back there, Bump it up. Yeah, we could definitely talk. For people who don't know, I'm Christine. I am the host of the podcast Flourish in the Foreign. I'm a business strategist and I'm a podcaster. And I do offer some services. I do 1-hour chats about moving abroad, about whatever you want to talk about for moving abroad. You can find the link to book that on the website, www.flourishintheforeign.com. Yes. /Christine, or other places it is on the website. I also offer 1-hour a la carte kind of consulting for businesses. If you want to, if you have a business, I always say if you have a business in particular, to do a la carte. because it costs money. So, if you want to talk about it, then you gotta, but if you have a business and you want to think about how to scale it to go abroad, if you want to talk about how to really launch that business, I recommend doing that with me. But I also have that free guide. And I create that free guide because it's an investment, period. I've been a business strategist since I was in law school. I work with startups. I've worked in the holistic wellness space. I've done a lot of different things. I've launched different products for myself. So it's an investment. But I also know that not everybody should be an entrepreneur, which leads into another plug. Here we go. Look at me. I was like, I'm a professional. I did a recent article with the blackexpat.com. Shout out to Amanda and crew about reasons why you should not start a business to go abroad or have a business abroad. And I think that's important too, because not everyone is an entrepreneur. But you don't always have to be an entrepreneur to go abroad or work remotely. You can work for someone remotely. I worked for someone remotely. I was a freelancer. I worked for full-time for a boutique web development company in DC. I work for myself. I've done all these different things abroad. So you don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur. But why I do this, particularly why I encourage for the right person to leverage their skills, leverage their talents for the benefit of themselves. Because for far too long, Black women, women of color, especially in the United States, are undermined, undervalued, period. They want you to do all the work. They don't give you the praise. They don't give you the money. You have to outperform everyone and you don't get the promotion. All these things. And for me, living abroad is a pathway to wellness, but entrepreneurship is a pathway to self-actualization. Pairing those two things together can be life-changing, right? Both of them by themselves can be life-changing, but together is really powerful. And I'm speaking from my personal experience. So these are the services I offer. I do a la carte. I also have a special program. I do a 12-week sprint for businesses. It is intense, but you have a business and you make money at the end. There you go. So I have all of these things. You can check it out on the website, definitely. Hi, Cinnamony 99. I like your place. Did you move? I'm in Atlanta right now. I'm not in Barcelona. Though my old place didn't have rafters. It had arches, kind of similar. So I'm in Atlanta. I'll be back in Barcelona next month. I had to come back to Atlanta to handle some family things, but I'll be back in Spain soon. And maybe I'll vlog that experience. I didn't vlog because it was crazy coming back here, but maybe I'll vlog going back to Spain. Should be interesting for sure. Who else? Hey, the flight risk. Yeah. One curvy chick. I've been dealing with anxiety and depression, so being whole is important to me. It's made me stronger though. Thank you so much for saying this. I know it's a public forum. Thank you so much for saying this though, because let's get 100% real. Anxiety and depression is going to follow you wherever you go around the world if you do not deal with it, right? Yes, a shitty boss, a shitty work, shitty people can cause a lot of depression and anxiety, right? For sure. And getting out of it can create the space. It can let you breathe, right? For sure. Crazy family situations, whatever it is for you, can create space for you to breathe. But wherever you go, you bring yourself. And so we can't look to moving abroad as the antidote. It's a place that creates space, and maybe it tamps down some of that anxiety. Maybe it gives us a little bit of relief because it's not in our face, but to give us that space to do the work that we need to do. So getting a therapist while you're abroad is important. I've interviewed 2 therapists on the podcast. The thing about therapists, I know some of you may already have therapists. You're like, but I can't take my therapist. My therapist said they couldn't help me while I'm abroad. Tell your therapist that if they have a part of their business as a life coach, they could still give you your therapy, right? they could just call it life coaching. That's what all of the therapists that I've talked to that working international, although with COVID, upside to COVID, telehealth is really starting to expand. What they're being allowed to do is being expanded, and it might even be able to be expanded internationally and things like that. But hey, and if you're a therapist, side hustle, be a life coach, probably get a lot of expat people, because you need a therapist. I think living abroad is a very interesting experience, especially if you do it solo. Even if you do it with a partner and family, there's all those other dynamics to deal with. And you don't have your support system necessarily with you. You're having experiences in which if you don't have grasp of a language, you feel stupid. And you're like, I'm not stupid. But everybody looks at me like I'm stupid. And I'm not stupid. You're like, that messes with your self-confidence. It messes on if you want to be social or not. Sometimes you have to hype yourself up just to go someplace because you're like, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say this. You practice it over and over. You're in the situation. They don't say none of the things that the cue words that you're looking for. And now you're like, you're frazzled. Especially if it's like a language thing. Because you're like, I was ready for it. And you didn't say the words. I was going to say this. You're supposed to say that. It's a lot of things. Or you look up the words. You're like, I'm looking for this. And they're looking at you like you are so stupid. And you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go home and cry. That's happened to me. So, and just dealing with, obviously making friends, and if that's been a struggle, or having relationships and trying to date, or having a partner, and all the things that life still happens when you're abroad. But sometimes you're in a space in which maybe you don't have as much support, or it's just, culturally, you're so different, so it always feels like you're wrong, and you're like, I'm not. This is how we get down to Black culture, and that's not wrong. It's just there's so many different things. So having a therapist is key. Finding a psychiatrist that speaks English, if that's the only language you speak, if you need to continue medication, is important. And I think we need to talk about this more openly and freely, because going abroad is not just like drinking out of a coconut. I mean, I like drinking out of coconut, but like, even if you move to Bali, and I love Bali, and I get why people like just stay in Bali, though get the correct visas, but it's paradise, but life still happens. So thank you so much, One Curvy Chick, for even saying that, because I think it's important for us to talk about. Maybe I'm gonna do a panel on it. I've dealt with anxiety and depression while I'm abroad. Sometimes it's hard to talk to friends about it, especially if your friends aren't dealing with anxiety or depression, or they don't talk about it. Or again, like I said at the beginning, they just think like, you live in Barcelona, you live next to the sea. Like I sit on on my last apartment, I had a terrace. You could like peek over, and between the two buildings, see the sea. I live like 2 minutes away from the beach. Like, what problems do you have? How can you be depressed or anxious? And you're like, do you not understand how depression and anxiety works? So thank you so much for saying that, because I'm going to talk more and more about it, because I think it's really important. Hey, Tia. Tia says, I don't have a visa. I have dual citizenship. Oh, okay, girl. Yeah. Mexico and U.S. I'm not sure if I'll end up staying in Barcelona. Going to apply everywhere. Okay. Cool. Yeah. If I end up staying in Barcelona, I'll apply for the student visa and enroll in language school to learn Catalan. Cool. Cool. I assume, since you have dual citizenship in Mexico, that you're going to stay in Spain for at least, what I think is like the 2 years to get Spanish citizenship, which opens up the entire EU for you, which is dope as hell, because then you can move anywhere in the entire EU. Okay. I would suggest with Barcelona, you probably already know this, people speak English in Barcelona. There's a lot of language schools. And right now, it's just so hard with COVID. So I think some of the language schools are opening up again, especially now that they're opening up Spain for tourists and things like that. But also, as you know, probably, obviously, in August, everything's closed. So the work starts, the jobs start in September. So it should be interesting, especially if they can roll out the vaccines. I know that in Spain, they're really pushing to everyone being in school. They're really pushing normality. but they haven't really been vaccinating that many people. So it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, let me know if you have any other questions about Barcelona. I lived in Barcelona and I lived in La Rioja. La Rioja was really great because people don't speak English, so you make a lot more money probably in academy. But I don't know how much money they make in Barcelona for sure. But there's a lot of language academies though. There are just all around the city. Yeah. Adelia, and also kudos to you, Tia, for learning Catalan, because I can read Catalan. I don't even know how that happened, to be honest, because I have not taken Nan Catalan class at all. And I could read Catalan and I'm like, how does this even happen? One of these days I'm actually gonna lock it down. Maybe. I don't know. Adelia says to Tia, your Mexican citizenship can get you residency in Spain. Yeah, there we go. Y'all are already on it. The flight risk, so important. I'm not interested in entrepreneurship, but it seems like everyone abroad is selling me something that they created as an entrepreneur abroad. Let's talk about it. You know, I think that, you know, if you have a hustle, you have a hustle. I'm never going to shame somebody's hustle. My biggest thing about any kind of product or any kind of anything, regardless if you're abroad or not, is that you are in integrity with it. It's important that you've done the things that you said that you've done, that you have whatever credentials or things like that, in my opinion, and that you have whatever, you can back it up. That's why I think it's really interesting for me. I work with Black women of color who are competent, right? They're competent people. They are rock stars in whatever their profession is now. Sometimes I'm helping them convert whatever it is their profession is into an online business, maybe a consultancy or something like that, or some kind of aspect of their job that they're like, I can do this. I have clients, I already have networks. I can do this probably for myself. Or taking those competencies, those skills, that network into a different business. But it's important to be in alignment and to be in integrity. It just is. But I think also it's really easy to, in my opinion, it's really easy to see, you know, people who create things just to create them, and people that don't. I think it's, you know, but I think it's, use your discernment. Use your discernment. All right. And, you know, also, you know, people hustle. Tia Mia. Yeah, Tia, yes, girl, you could, what? I'm sorry, I'm just reading this. I'm like 5 minutes behind all this stuff. Oh, goodness. For the love of Tracy. Hey, Tracy. I'm definitely taking my therapist with me. That's exactly what we are doing, is switching it to coaching. You see what I'm saying? Because why should you not have why should you not have a therapist? Especially if you have a therapist that you like, that knows you. Like, if I had especially when I was in Atlanta, if I had like a Black woman therapist that I liked and was like, you're coming with me to Barcelona, just let's be a coach. Because where am I going to find a Black American woman, probably this Black woman coach in Barcelona? A therapist. Like, no. And there are great therapists in Barcelona. I've been to therapy. I've had therapy in Barcelona, but you know, it's different when you're like, what I'm saying, you don't fully grasp what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You don't fully grasp what I'm saying. Yves Bonbon. How are you doing? In Colombia? In Medellin, I think you are? How are you doing? Or they really don't understand the drift of it at all. You know what I'm saying. Absolutely, it's hard to talk to friends and family about it. Yes. Okay, we've just been chatting. I thought I was just going to come on here, do a little chit chat and stuff like that. If you're joining us late, please watch this from the beginning, because this whole conversation is about building community and friendships abroad, but also also talking about the importance of friendship and families back home in the whole context of wellness. Because as I said before, living abroad can be a pathway to wellness. But it can only be a pathway to wellness if you're intentional about it and if you do the work. You can't just move to Colombia and like, it's just gonna be great because I live in Colombia. Like, you actually have to roll up your sleeves to intentionally create a life well lived for yourself. You have to do that. And that also pertains to your wellness. And it also pertains to your mental wellness. Building up, the emotional support that you need. You're not just gonna get off the plane and have friends, unfortunately. I don't know. Just maybe you will, but most people don't. Especially if we're actually having a little tighter definition of friends. You know what I'm talking about? Not as friend, like friends. It takes time. And it is worth it, but it's important to really be mindful. And I want everyone to be resilient, that I know that you are. Doesn't mean that you have to endure. That's a whole other conversation that we're going to have on IG. Enduring. No. Resilience is different. And the growth that comes with putting yourself out there. But also what I love, and I'll end with this, what I love about living abroad is, and this is why I started thinking about living abroad as a pathway to wellness in the first place. Because by living abroad, you are taken outside of everything that you know and that's familiar. You're also taken outside of the societal norms that you have consciously and subconsciously adhered to. The beliefs that you just assume are real. That when you go to somewhere else and they don't hold the same beliefs, that you literally have resistance. It's friction, right? Even if it's something that you don't think is a big deal, you have that resistance. There's a dissonance there. Now, if you move intentionally, if you set that intention to surrender to this experience, if you set an intention to have and allow this place, allow this experience, allow this time in your life to really be an expression of your wellness. And if you know what wellness means to you, or you have an inkling and you're leaning in that direction, then you take this dissonance that you feel and you become more aware of what it really is talking to you about. You're saying to yourself, I'm feeling some resistance. I'm feeling this dissonance. Why? Is this innately bad, or should I fear for my life, or is this just different? In the difference is the choice, right? When I notice the difference, I can then make a decision to say, no, I don't want to experience this. This is bogus. Or for me to be curious and to allow a different way of living life to wash over me. Okay? That's how living abroad could be a pathway to wellness, because then you are open up to the infinite amount of choices and ways to live life. That's what's so special about it. But only if you're intentional, and only if you lean into the dissonance. That's just how it works. You have to lean into it. If you lean into it, then your mind literally starts expanding past all the things you think you have to have. I have to have my cinnamon toast crunch for breakfast. And if you say, instead of holding on to that, and you say, what are the other options? You might surprise yourself and get some scrumptious local whatever that blows your mind and changes your life. And you think that's like silly, but it's not, because it starts with these little small choices that we make to surrender to whatever we're experiencing. And surrendering doesn't mean you're just letting life smack you in the face. It is allowing you to release your, assumptions about people in a place, your expectations, and actually be present to see what's actually going to unfold for you. And then actually take that information and see how that feels, and see if that's in resonance with you, if that's in alignment with you. And you'll be surprised at the amount of stuff that you were resisting is actually in alignment with you and that you like. Yes. And when you do find that, just imagine this face doing this to you. You like it, don't you? No, for real. That is what living abroad can do for you. For real. But the magic is in the dissonance, and that's what people don't, that's not what's Instagrammable, right? Like, people don't want to hear that. They want the coconut, they want to drink the coconut juice, and it's good. But like, the real magic, the people that have changed their life, that are living a spectacular life, regardless if it's on Instagram or not, have leaned into the dissonance, have grown, have learned things about them, have made decisions that are actually in alignment with who they are, and not just in alignment with whatever they've been taught, whatever conditioning that they have been brought up in. It's a difference. Even if you think, I'm super woke, I know what's going on. You don't until you move somewhere else and they operate differently. It doesn't even have to be so drastic too. It could just be something small, and that dissonance, if you lean into it, baby, it's gonna be crazy. All right, I'm silly today. Any other questions, concerns, anything at all? I'm gonna wrap this up right now. I want to thank you guys so much for just rocking with me, rocking with the podcast. The podcast was launched about a year ago now, more than a year ago. I guess it was a year ago last week, and y'all have shown out for the podcast. Giving me, I have so many reviews, I get so many notes, I get so many DMs, and it is, I love it. Thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for even taking the time, because your time is precious. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that through this podcast, not only have I met so many amazing and incredible women that have changed my life and how I even think about the world, become friends I never met before, even in real life, but like hold me down. But also that through sharing these voices of Black women, so many people have been able to connect to all these fantastic Black women that they didn't know were in the world doing the damn thing, and they could be of service and they can create friendships or whatever it is. It means so much to me. It means so much that people rock with it. It means so much that y'all resonate. It means so much. So just thank you, really, for real. Like, thank you. Listen to the podcast. I just dropped an episode yesterday. I'll probably drop maybe 2 more this week. Something spicy. Check it out. Let me know what you think. If you've never reviewed the podcast, please review the podcast. Please give it 5 stars and review the podcast on whatever platform you listen. Share the podcast, screen the podcast, share it on social media. If you feel so inclined, support the podcast. Supporting Black creatives is really important. I love the shares, I love the reviews. Also, I appreciate the financial and monetary support too. So if you feel so inclined, you can buy me a coffee. You can cash app me at $Flourish Foreign. You can become a Patreon. I've had people be like, I don't want to do none of that. I was going to send you some money. And they've sent me money that way too. They're like, I'm just going to big mail you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you feel so inclined, you could purchase an item for the production of the podcast. I don't have all my podcast stuff with me, so the audio is a little bit weird right now. Sorry. But if you feel so inclined to do that. If you know of grants or just very wealthy people who want to support Black women, tell them to listen to the podcast and give me their money. Go ahead, you can do that as well. If you write blogs, if you are in media, please share Flourish on Foreign to get included in articles and listicles and blogs. All of this stuff, it just helps, and it really does. It helps so much. I'll say this because I don't want to be too long. The amount of people that have discovered Flourish on Foreign from like an article or a Facebook post that I didn't post, that someone else did, and they got exactly what they were looking for, the amount of notes I've gotten from that is like crazy. So you guys might be like, oh, what does it do if I just share it? Like, it does a lot, actually. It doesn't have to be a major platform to share. It does a lot, and it may help someone. So that is all I have to say. If you're looking to build a business abroad, grab my free Build a Business Abroad guide. It's in the Instagram bio. If you're looking for other resources to not only go abroad but thrive abroad, check out www.flourishinforeign.com/resources. I put down all of the resources, or some of the resources that I've used to go abroad and to thrive abroad. Some of the things that I use from day to day, like how I transfer money from one to another, all these kinds of things. And I'm going to be continuously updating it from all the things that I use. I don't put anything on there that I haven't used because ethics, but yes. If you are looking for something like that, there you go. Check it out. I think that is all that I have to say for today. Y'all know I don't ever wear my glasses on these, so I have to like really squint. Yes, that is it. If you're looking for more conversations that I've had with Black women who've been abroad, check out the YouTube channel. I actually have a lot of conversations with past podcast guests. If there's somebody that you really, really dig or dug, you can maybe find them on the YouTube channel, but I've also talked to other people too, really about wellness, about building their business, about a lot of different things. And, you know, let me know what you want to hear. You know, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you want to hear something, let me know what you want to hear. Maybe I can make it happen. Okay, guys. Thank you, Tia. Thank you. Fat Nice One. Thank you so much. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. All right. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye.